and here we go.
There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my god.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
This is not deja vu. We are here back with more Ship 40 testing at Starbase at the Massey Outpost. And yeah, so it's happening again, folks. It rolled out again. And so we are here back covering Ship 40's testing at Massey's. And yeah, there's my name, very long name. I'm Alex here from NSF. And as just last week, I'm here with some other folks, including Ryan Weber. Ryan, how's it going?
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I know it's not morning in there, but it's always morning somewhere, and I literally just woke up. So I'm here to cover some Ship 40 testing. I'm hoping for a static fire because it literally just it rolled back out because there was a whole thing. We can cover exactly what happened, but they played some musical ships for a little bit there.
Yeah. And I think right now our producer for this stream is Jay, but we may switch later into the stream, as well as some voices might come on later as well. We'll see if they can make it here. But yeah, so we are back here. We had some testing last week on Wednesday and Thursday. And that was, the first test was that one that it was like, it's either a static fireboard or an igniter test or something like that. We were having that discussion in chat about it. And then on the second day, on Thursday, they did a single engine static fire test for about 10 to 15 seconds. After seemingly pausing for like 25 minutes or so, which, yeah, it was quite interesting the way that they paused for that long. They rolled back the ship to the production site. Then they rolled out Ship 41, the next ship in the series of these vehicles. And then they did some cryo testing. They rolled it back. And now Ship 40 is back for more testing. Now, chat, I want your guys' sort of opinion. Like, what do you think it's going to be? It's going to be a static fire, some more igniter testing. Let's see what chat says. But Ryan, I know you said that you wanted to be a static fire, but could there be any other kinds of testing that they may want to do? It seems like they're testing more this one than the previous one.
They could do another 6-engine igniter and then do a static fire after the fact. But I will also point out, is it still on? Because I think there was a closure that popped up. What was it?
Yeah, for tomorrow, right? At 10 a.m.
Yeah, closure for tomorrow in the middle of the day. So, like, I have this distinct feeling that they're doing the 6-engine static fire now. They'll safe the vehicle, they'll get it ready for rollback, and it'll roll back tomorrow during the day. That's my guess. So I'm hoping for 6-engine static.
Yeah, because the first round of engine testing, I mean, that was one of the key things that was like, hey guys, you forgot something, right? They rolled it back and they hadn't done the 6-engine static fire test, and we were like, what's going on? Then they rolled out Ship 41, and it probably was because they might have prioritized Ship 41 getting its cryo and getting out of the way that milestone, because they want to increase the launch cadence. So the test cadence also needs to increase. And Ship 40, as we were mentioning last week, right? It pretty much is almost ready to go. It just needs to get this engine testing done and verify that everything is correct and everything is in place and getting all the data that they need for flight. But other than that, in terms of hardware installation and things like that, it just has a few more days of work in theory, right? And those can be done closer to launch. Don't necessarily have to be now. And so if they were to delay a week to get that final engine test, then they will still be on track for a launch this month, because the pacing item here seems to be the booster. So it seems like that's what we said last week, and it seems like getting that week of delay is what we got out of that. Of course, I forgot, as usual. Sorry, the usual caveat here. If you have questions, tag at NASASpaceflight in chat or at NSF, and we'll grab it on our panel. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was about to say, I think what happened is they did an igniter test. At this rate, it was still either an igniter or an aborted 6-engine static fire. Something happened on the 24th, and they didn't like some of the data that they looked at. So when they went to do a static fire, they just did the single engine test that we saw them do on one of the good engines that they had, and then they decided, okay, well we'll just roll it back and we'll take a look at it. We'll maybe fix some things here and there. They didn't swap any engines from what we can tell, obviously, but it's what it was back for a couple of days. It was best for like 4 days or so.
Yeah.
3 days. Maybe they swapped one. I kind of doubt it though. Either way, they fixed that. In the meantime, they literally rolled 41 out, did a pair of cryos back to back, because what they do now with ship is they load it up, detank it, load it up again, and do both cryos in a span of about 12 hours, detank the whole thing, safe it, and send it back. And that's what they did with 41. It was out at Massey's for like a day and a half, basically. And then they took it off that stand, swapped stands in the Mega Bay 2, put 40 on, and rolled it out last night. So musical ships, and I think it was just that they found something. What?
Musical ships.
I think they just found something. That's my guess.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got some questions already, some support as well. I'm going to try and run through some of those. ODST Moody saying, talk about timing. The TFR was filed at 2:30 p.m. for a start of 8 p.m. the same day. So at this rate, 8 p.m. seems late. Yeah, so they have a TFR, temporary flight restriction, for today for testing out at Massey's. But yeah, it's supposed to start later in the day. It's kind of weird. But thanks for the support, ODST Moody. Yeah, it's SpaceX. You know how it works. It happens. Let me see. Some people asking about the timeline here. This is a very complicated name for me. Just Vandenberg. I'm really sorry for butchering your name. To be honest, it's also YouTube's fault that they make it more complicated. Where are we on the timeline to Flight 13? When can we expect a launch?
Well, if you do a 6-engine static fire today, roll 40 back, I wouldn't be surprised if 40 were ready for flight within the next week or two. I would not be shocked to see 40 get its payload before booster 20 static fires. It wouldn't shock me to the least, but they might wait till the last moment to do it anyways. So maybe like right after 20 gets back from its static fires when 40 will get its payload, whatever that payload's going to be at this rate. We don't really know what 40 is going to get, or what setup it's going to get. It could be exactly like Flight 12. It might not be. Booster 20 needs to go out for a static fire. Now, all the scaffolding was taken off Pad 2, and we saw they've done a couple of top deck deluges. I don't know if they've done any today. I have to look back.
And they're
and look.
about to, if I'm not mistaken. We're also keeping an eye on that and trying to see if we can see that.
They're not fully cleared out yet, so
yeah,
they're not going to do it.
Might be
soon,
later today,
but I might do it later or something. Either way, they are testing a lot of components. It looks like whatever refurbishment work and mod work they were doing after Flight 12 is all done. So they are just waiting on Booster 20 to be ready to roll out. So once that rolls out, they'll do a 33 into the static fire. 20 will roll back. I still think we're 3 weeks away. I think Booster 20... I don't think it's rolling out this week at this rate, where it's Wednesday already. But it could roll out Friday for all I know. But I'm expecting pushing it at least till next week.
You know, Ryan?
What?
We actually have a question about this from Terry895+, asking what can be done first, Booster 20 static fire or Booster 21 cryo test campaign? What do you think might be first there? I'm
Booster 20
citing on
fire.
static fire. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because 21 just got finished stacking. Like literally, it finished stacking on
Like 2 days ago, right?
June 28th. It'll be about a month before it's ready for cryo. So, yeah. Hopefully, for SpaceX is hoping that Flight 13 goes before 21 goes out for cryo. Let's just put it that way. Will it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but we'll see.
Let's see.
Or it may happen at the same time. There might be a booster.
They're also going.
Flight 13 goes.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're also going quickly with stacking boosters. I don't think they're still going as quickly as they probably wanted, but they're going quickly because Booster 12 has started stacking as well. Not 12. Excuse me, 22. I was confused about the last two. It's 22. Alex Brain, it's 22, not 12. 12, that already launched.
Yeah, 22 is 4 sections high right now.
Yeah, so, wait, 4? I thought it was only
4.
3.
3, my bad, 3. That's right.
Okay.
It's the booster, it's 2 LOX tank sections and then the common, right?
Yeah, no.
Losing my mind here. I'm waking up.
Yeah, but it already started, so that's a good sign. You know, they're continuing. There's not like a big gap in between boosters. They sort of did the same between Booster 20 and 21, where you know, as soon as Booster 20 got fully stacked, within 2 days or so, they started rolling out the first sections of Booster 21. So they're going fast. They're trying not to stop there. It's usually other things that tend to delay them, because you know the tanks themselves seem to me that they're easier to assemble. But yeah, now coming back to today's test here that we're streaming, Biteford is asking, what is the estimate for static fire timing or whatever occurs today?
Well, I was thinking around 4:45, but they haven't started prop load yet, so I don't think that's one out. I'm going to go with it's going to be around 5 o'clock. That's my guess at this rate. We'll have to wait to see when prop load starts, then we'll get a better T0, because the chill down's a little wonky at the moment compared to when the vents started.
Yeah, and we also know that it's the ship, because we can see the methane side of things going off, right? So it's not like any of the test tanks on the right there.
Yeah, you can see the vent on the left is the methane sub.
Ship test, because otherwise, why would they do anything with the methane tank, right? The methane tank farming.
Yeah,
that's only. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah. That's just if you're gonna if they're doing static fire testing, you need methane. So
yeah. So let's see. We have more questions here regarding today's test. Well, rather than today's test, more like an overall testing question here from Cooper Foster 11 saying, why did SpaceX start doing cryo tests on the ships on a static fire stand. Do they do that on the static fire stand? Is there maybe more like a slight difference there to be made?
Well, they do it over the trench, and they do it on a modified version of the static fire stand, the crab stand. We might be into prop load by now, by the way.
Yeah, it looks very active to me.
It's a crab stand with six thrust sim rams on it, so they can thrust sim the aft of the ship. So it's got 3 RVAC ones and 3 sea level ones. They did that so that when they go to cryo test ships, they can hook it up to the truss structure. I don't why they didn't build the truss structure right where they have the ship stand. Well, I don't know. They kind of have the room to do it, but they decided to integrate the truss structure into the static fire stand rather than having to drill more piles or do any other kind of thing, and just did that. You'll have to ask SpaceX why they decided to do it this way, and they've decided to do it this way. So they cannot cryo test and static fire a ship at the same time. They can only do one or the other. Now, this will be solved if and when they build another ship flame trench, which they got the land to do it. They just now need to get, I think it's the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers approval to build on that land, with a whole plan and everything to pave over it and then build a trench out there. Well, my guess is they'll build another one. When it'll get done, that could be a bit. But I expect them to build another one at some point.
Yeah, and when they did the cryo on Ship 39, that was not on this stand, right? That was on the proper the other way around. So it was not on the cryo on the new cryo stand, but it was on this stand on the proper static fire stand because it didn't get any thrust simulator testing, right?
Yeah, it didn't get any thrust sim testing because the new thrust sim stand wasn't even ready. So
Yeah.
that's why that happened.
So on that one, they basically bit the bullet and said, "Yeah, let's just not do the thrust testing, but let's at least do the cryo testing, then install the engines, and if the ship doesn't come apart on the static fire test, then good." Basically, right? But yeah, and then with Ship 40, they actually properly did it with a proper cryo stand now that they have, and then Ship 41 also got that this past week. Let's see. Talking about closures here from ODST Moody, talking about the closure from, I think it's called Huddlestone, whatever it's to production, basically, to that little place where they store pieces and things like that. Like, what are they keeping there? What do they have there now?
I have to check again what that might be. It could be parts for Gigabay, for all I know. I have to go look to see what's there. So I have to go look at some pictures before I could say exactly what it is.
All right. We were talking about the stands before, and T Junior OG asking, what happened with the static fire stand from the Ship 36 explosion? I believe it's the same one, right? They just repaired it and refurbished.
The one that 40 is sitting on right now is the same one. They just repaired it. That's pretty thick steel. It's not going to do that kind of an methane explosion / fireball isn't really going to do much to that. There wasn't a lot of, relatively speaking, there was not a lot of methane on Ship 36 when that happened. Not compared to New Glenn. New Glenn had the lovely combination of also having a hydrolox combination as well on board. So you mixed everything together, and especially a completely full load, you had a much bigger fireball than 36 because you had a lot more fuel on board.
Yeah.
That's a big rocket, and that was a lot of fuel. If
It
36 had been fully fueled during that point, I don't know if that static fire stand would have been salvageable. It depends on It depends on how much of it actually mixed and exploded rather than turned into a fireball. It's one of those things with a methane explosion is if you vaporize it and turn it into a gas really quick, you'll just get a fireball if it burns off, or it'll just burn off in fires. If you get unlucky, like Blue did, where a lot of it detonates together, then that stinks. They got unlucky with the way everything mixed. Everything mixed together, and a lot of that detonated, or at least caused a decent explosion, which threw chunks of the TE into the tower. It shoved the launch deck into the trench. It collapsed the other lightning tower. It can be really dependent with a methane rocket on how much of it actually explodes at that moment rather than just burns off in a fireball or burns off on the ground. RP1 is a little bit different with the way it explodes. Same thing with hydrogen. It just depends on the rocket using it. I think we got about a ring of locks on there. So
Already Frost?
probably 450, depending, 455.
Okay.
We'll have to see when the 10-minute flap wiggle is.
Yeah, that's true. They flappy flap the flaps at T-minus 10 minutes. But yeah, I'm also guessing that Ship 36 also got the advantage that the COPVs broke up from the top. And so in the way that it broke off, it was like top to bottom, right? And that probably let a bunch of the methane sort of escape before it got ignited first. And so it was more like flames rather than an actual proper, burst like the New Glenn did.
Because you could certainly see the pressure wave of New Glenn. There wasn't as much with 36. That pressure wave in New Glenn, when the stages collapsed into one another and all of that just exploded. Yeah. It might have helped that the methane tank burnt, that basically the top came off of 36. It blew open and it kind of turned into a fireball. Plus that amount of LOX versus to that much methane. I mean, that amount of LOX, all it is just going to spread all over the place. It's not really going to deaden the explosion or anything. That's not what LOX does.
I wouldn't be surprised if with how cold it was, it actually made it harder for some of the parts to burn off. Because it's a lot of cold stuff, basically. Even though it's liquid oxygen, yes, but it's also cold. So
either way,
yeah,
36 wasn't even close
worse
to that one.
Yeah. All right, so we are now seeing that frost. We are properly into propellant load. See what I did there? And so let's see. Some people asking, like, what is the reason for executing a second static fire test on the same vehicle when the first test appeared nominally? But that was not the full complement of engines, right? That was just one engine, correct?
Yeah, that was just a single engine. They need to test all 6. There may come a point in the Starship program where they can go install engines on a ship or a booster and not care about testing it. That's once your ship design and your engine design is 100% validated, good to go, and you have full confidence in everything. That time is a ways away for Starship. This is still an R&D vehicle. This is only the second ship that's ever gotten Raptor 3. It's only the second Block 3 ship. Rolling that dice would not be wise, because you just went public and then all of a sudden your ship blows up at Seco. That would not be a good look, especially if you didn't static fire your ship. That would not look bad. That would not look good, I should say.
Yeah. Let's see. Because yeah, that's another thing as well. I lost the actual question, but some people were asking, like, what do you expect Flight 13? Flight 13's outcome will be based on the Flight 12 outcome, because it seems like they only have a few things to iron out, most of the major stuff sort of went okay-ish on Flight 12?
Personally, I think it'll be a more or less perfect flight, as perfect as you can get for the suborbital one. I think you're not going to have any. I don't think they'll have any issues on ascent with the ship. I think they'll figure that one out. No engine outs. They'll do the in-space burn, and reentry was basically flawless last time. So I don't know how much you can improve on that, but there's probably bits in areas that they can improve on. There always is, especially when you're trying to still R&D this kind of stuff. And then I don't know if it'll do the pirouette, the little ballerina spin at the end. I'm pretty sure that was to show the cameras the heat shield as much as possible. It might still do that again. I know everyone was claiming that wasn't that wasn't intended. I'm gonna laugh if this ship does it too, and I go, yeah, see, it was intended. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again just to show the heat shield off to the cameras, and then 20. I think 20 will make it all the way down to a successful splashdown with the landing burn. SpaceX has proven very, very time and again, especially with this program, that between flight tests, they can improve things a lot. The only span of that was Flight 7 to Flight 8, or Flight 9, I mean. And they still did improve it. I mean, they did lose the ship on Flight 9, but it did get past ECO.
Which is a plus compared to how
I think
Flight 7 and 8 went.
I think that's a period of the program they want to forget. They learned a lot of lessons, but I think that's a period they want to forget. But the thing is how do you want to forget it? You caught 14 and 15 in that span too. So it's kind of one of those. Booster was great.
And they reused them later as well.
And then they reused them. So that was actually it was a high point and a low point in the program. We'll put it that way. I think overall, though, they didn't do very well in the first half of 2025. I think first half of 2025 was basically a failure for the program, but despite the fact that they did reuse a booster. But I think 20 will be successful, and then they'll catch 21 when we get to Flight 14.
Yeah, because some people are asking about that as well. Like, Resistor Jet here. If Flight 13 goes well, orbit and catch on Flight 14, or just orbit? I think that's more related to the ship, but it's also the fact that if on Flight 13 the booster also does a successful splashdown, it probably makes sense for Flight 14 to then also capture the booster. Like that will make sense, right?
Yeah, I think Flight 14 is the go for broke in this program. I think they're going for broke on that flight. I think if this next flight is fully successful, full splashdown to ship, no real issues, splashdown to booster, no real issues, or maybe, here things to tweak here and there, I think Flight 14 is go for broke. Go to orbit, or do the kind of thing where they go for suborbital, do a burn, get in orbit, kind of one way or the other, go for orbit, catch booster, try to catch ship. So Flight 14 may be the most important flight in the history of the Starship program. It very easily could be, in every way, shape, and form. It'll be interesting to see how it all goes. The vehicles for that flight, one's cryoed, the other one just finished constructing. That's Booster 21. So I would give Booster 21 at least 2+ months until it's ready. Probably about 2.5. So sometime mid-September would be my guess as when it might be ready. 41's going to be ready long before that. It already did cryo, and about a month from now it'll do a static fire, and then it's just going to kind of sit and wait for 21 to be ready. After that, it becomes a big question mark because 42 hasn't started stacking in Mega Bay 2 yet, but its booster has. So that's actually a difference in the... a little bit weird now with the Block 3 setup that's happened. So,
but they also at the same time, they've shown that the ships, they can stack them faster and get them ready for flight a bit faster, at least than the boosters. The boosters get slightly more complicated once you start doing the engine section and installing all the internals and and all that stuff. At least from the outside, it seems like that's at least like the timings you see when they start doing like common dome and all of the massive barrel sections right below that. It's like they go fast, and then they have like a little gap in construction, and then they start putting the transfer tube and the landing tanks and all the things and everything, and then it takes a little bit more time to do those little things at that point where there's more
Well, like
rather complicated stuff, right?
just between the ring sections, there's a weld seam they have to do to join the sections together, and then what they have to do is they have to join all the stringers. So if you look on the outside, or if you get a shot to looking on the inside of one of those barrel sections, there's a ton of stringers that run around. I think it's 100 stringers on booster. I'd have to go double check and remember. It's been a minute on the LOX tank. But basically, they have to go in with stringer extensions. So once the two sections are joined, they have to go in, and one, by hand, they have to weld in stringer extensions to join the stringers together between all the sections. So if there's 100 of them, you have to do 100 of them inside the barrel section. And then you move
That's
on
a
to the
lot.
next one. Or what you do is you just stack all the barrel sections together, and then you go back and go down the thing and install all the stringer extensions to join them all in, and then any other the internal stuff you have to do. So there's still a lot of work you have to get done. It's not like it's just joining a single weld seam. There's a lot of internals. Plus, the one thing that's nice about this Block 3 is the autogen lines plus the raceways are all a single unit now. In the past, the autogen lines, they would install them on before, and then you'd have to do connections in between the sections. Now it's a single pipe they lift on and install it, and it's done, and then you just got to hook it in. So there's improvements here and there to simplicity on some things, and then other things, I don't know how you solve the stringer thing in the future. I don't think there is a way to do it, because it's kind of hard to do that robotically, because that's inside the tank. Especially if the transfer tube is in there. There's still a lot of room in there, but it's still a lot to do.
Well, speaking of having room, I think we have room here for a third person on commentary who's going to be taking over some hosting duties. It may have he may have a British accent, but he's definitely pleasant, right, Ryan?
What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that there are other people who are not pleasant? Is that what you're inferring?
No, because your nickname here is Pleasant Temperature, Ryan. So they've been having like some kind of heat wave or something. I don't know. It's like 30 degrees. We call that a Sunday here in Spain. I don't know. But yeah, hi, welcome, Ryan.
It's been nice temperatures this week, and the forecast says that will continue, but it was a bit ridiculous last week. But anyways, we don't need to get bogged down in, how the entire country almost melted into the North Sea last week. We can talk about Starship 40, which is at Massey's getting ready to do some things. I'm not just saying this for me, because believe it or not, I have actually been watching the stream, but our viewership has pretty much increased by a third over the last 15 20 minutes or so. So Alex or Ryan, whoever wants to take it, do you want to just give us a brief status sitrep update? What has happened so far, and when do we think the test should take place?
I can do the first part, and maybe Ryan can do the second part. So
Sure.
Ship 40 is out there at Massey's on the static fire stand, getting ready for whatever kind of engine testing they may want to do today. We're hoping for a static fire test. We'll see what we can see. Tank farming is going quite strongly. You can see they're all venting. From the left, you've got the methane tank farm, and then on the right, the liquid oxygen tank farm. And we can see already some frost on Ship 40. Quite a lot of frost, actually, not just some frost. Quite a lot
Got a
on the
methane
liquid
frost line,
oxygen.
by the way.
Yeah, now I see it. Yeah, the liquid oxygen tank is... It's like maybe a little bit, like 80% or something like that, right? And then we're starting to see methane tank getting frosty as well. So that is great. And Ryan, how about the timing? When do you expect a test?
So with a methane frost line, they should be done loading within the next 5 to 7 minutes, give or take. At which point they will close some stuff out, and then we should see the flap wiggle. So that might happen at 4:50, give or take. So maybe a 5 p.m. static, 5:05. That's kind of where I'm looking at this point. But the flap wiggle will give us that T-minus 10-minute point. So that's what we're kind of looking out for at this point.
I will say, all of that venting, I would have really liked that last week, just to sit in it and cool off. Yeah, all of that cryogenic prop. Maybe not touching it, but within the vicinity, just to cool down. But yeah, we are just gone past 4:45 in the evening here in Starbase, Texas, and we are continuing to watch that propellant load onto the ship. Fingers crossed. I mean, we all want to see a 6-engine static fire. Whether that actually happens today, I mean, it was still yet to be seen, because we've obviously seen them go through all the other testing before today, gone back to the production site, come back to Massey's, yo-yoing back and forth, swapping places with Ship 41 every other day. It's a little bit difficult to keep track of, but we do know for certain they've done at least a single-engine static fire, because SpaceX posted a video of it. Very nice video from inside of the engine bay. And I would love to see that of a 6-engine static fire. So fingers crossed that does indeed happen. Fingers crossed today, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's go through some more questions while we wait for Ship 40 to get fully fueled with methane and oxygen. First of all, Tom, thank you for the $20 Canadian super. They're asking, with Gigabay well on the way, at what point will the test site need to be expanded, and how much expansion needed and where? Thanks, NSF. Ryan, I'll toss this one over to you. But it's an interesting point, because at least within the current footprint of Massey's, I'm not too sure where they could fit another test stand. And if they're going to be pumping out, dozens of ships and boosters within a very short period of time, they need to be able to test those things, don't they?
Well, that's the nice thing, is they recently got a land swap approval to grab a bunch of the land that kind of surrounds Massey's, and then even more land to the east of Massey's, on the U.S. side of the Rio Grande, obviously. All that land is still wetlands and owned by Fish and Wildlife, so they'll still have to get approval with credits and other things through U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and other things, as well as build plans. But there's I don't really see too many obstacles in that front, considering how the launch site expansion got approved. I would expect them to get that land to get approval to build on it. I don't know the timeline along that. It could be a while. But basically they could quadruple or more Massey's size with all that. So go ahead and either fill in the moat or build a bridge across it. I don't really know what you want to do. Or you take that road and you fork it off right before it goes over that little moat area around Massey's. And then you build a static fire. Maybe you build 2 more static fire stands on one side, or you build one on either side. So you get 3 of them, and then you build some more booster stands. At Massey's right now, they are currently in the process of reconfiguring the entire LN2 farm, so they can build more testing areas. I would not be surprised if a second super crusher got built. There's a lot of stuff they'll need to test down the road, and Starbase is going to be that main R&D area for test tanks. If they do build a Massey's-like area at the Cape, it'll likely just be ship static fires, cryos, and booster cryos. That's what that'll be. But at some point in time, I expect them to get the actual land to build on, like get approval to build on the land that they just got, basically. And we'll see when that is. I don't know how long it's going to be.
Continuing to watch that prop load, should be coming up here pretty shortly for that to wrap up. Of course, Alex, when they do go for these kind of engine tests at Massey's, we only see a little slither of methane. So some of the newer viewers, they shouldn't panic if we don't see a full tank of methane loaded onto the ship.
Yeah, the methane tank, it's only loaded like a ring, less than that sometimes, to minimize the potential for explosions, right? Because you just want the minimal amount just to test the engines for whatever for however long you want them to be firing, and that's about it. Any more than that just gets to the point where it can be a hazard if something were to go wrong, like it did go wrong on Ship 36 a year ago. And so that explosion, as we were talking earlier, could have been even worse if they have fully loaded the tank, the methane tank on Ship 36. If that had happened, then it would have been an even worse day for them. But thankfully, that did not happen. Should probably mention one quick thing. They do load the liquid oxygen tank entirely for weighing down the ship, sort of like ballast. But yeah. Now.
I was going to say, Mr. Bamboozler, speaking of that part of the ship, is asking, when could we see a ship with a more conventional payload bay, maybe something similar to Neutron's Hungry Hippo fairing? I'm not sure if Starship will ever, or at least a reusable Starship will ever expand in such a manner, because, it kind of petals open. But Alex, I would like to see a shuttle payload bay style thing on Starship, but it might be a minute because, well, they're kind of focusing on AI, Starlink, maybe not big payloads.
Slopsats?
Yeah, the star mind and all that.
Links?
Flaps moving apparently, so that is a great sign.
So 5:01.
Yeah, a little bit earlier, probably closer to 59. It was about 2 minutes ago. I missed it. I was looking to our chat, not our chat on YouTube, like our own internal chat. But yeah, the whole thing is that big payload bay doors on Starship are complicated to design because the structural, like the walls, there's not like an eggshell sort of thing where you have something internal, right? Like it's just empty inside. There's some pressure that sometimes they do apply, but if you want to deploy something into space, you kind of have to depressurize the vehicle, at least the payload portion. So it also needs to hold up together on its own without any pressure inside. And so it's not easy to make a really big opening on the thing that's actually making your structure. Like the wall of the nose cone and the payload bay is the structure. So even for the payload, for the pest dispenser, it's just like a mailbox sort of thing, right? On the side of the vehicle, it's not too huge, and it still needs a lot of reinforcement around that opening. So this is why you can think of this as something that you will probably defer that sort of thing if you were at SpaceX and you only had like maybe 2 payloads at most that need a very big door. Might as well just make some kind of other. We have a new view now. But yeah, might as well just come up with a different way of deploying those instead of doing like a chomper door or something like that. Could just throw out the nose cone or something like that, or maybe explosives, and just remove those entirely. I don't know. It just feels to me that in that sense, it just seems like something that you will naturally delay because it's not very high up in your priorities, basically.
Yep. Thankfully, just in the nick of time, Caesar has rolled out and has got us a brand new view. So now we have 2 closer views. We have other cameras from a bit more of a distance looking at Massey's, but in terms of the up-close views, I mean, I have our outpost cam, thanks to Rocket Ranch, and Caesar is out with a proper camera looking at Massey's. And judging by when those flaps moved, T0 time may be around the top of the hour, but again, things can hold. And we've seen that before many times. So we don't have access to SpaceX's internal countdown clock, whatever that may be displaying right now.
If only we had that.
If only. But our best guess right now is somewhere around the top of the hour. Regardless, don't go anywhere because fingers crossed we should get a test within the next few minutes at least. I think we have time to maybe squeeze in at least one more question. So I'm going to ask this question from Domino Plays. I'll go both to Ryan and Alex on this one. Do you think that they are going to do 60 seconds static fire like last time or make it a bit shorter? Ryan, what do you think?
I think they'll do a full 60. I was surprised they did it with 39, but then considering it was first block 3 with Raptor 3s, maybe I'm not as surprised. The only two ships in recent memory that didn't do a 60-second static fire are 37 and 38, and of course 36 because it blew up. Because those were on the launch mount, the old pad scrap, and that could not handle a 60-second static fire. It doesn't have enough water for that. So, yeah, I think it'll be a full 60 to help them look at, see if any issues that they encountered during ascent were fixed. That's my guess, anyways.
Any disagreement, Alex?
I think if they're going to be doing a 6-engine static fire test, they will probably do 60 seconds. It makes sense to, take the opportunity and do the full thing. Why not?
And it also makes the plume much larger, so it makes it more obvious to us what they're doing. Because as you can tell, they've kind of put a bunch of stuff in the way of the static fire stand from many angles, so it's a bit hard to actually see beneath
Or
the
test
ship.
tanks there.
Yes, they've filled Masleys with test tanks, and it makes it quite difficult to actually see anything that happens, beneath the bottom of the ship. So we did see with one of the previous tests a flash, and by flash we mean like we saw 1 pixel on Caesar's camera that was orange for 1 frame, and that's what we had to base off of. I mean, like, I'm not exaggerating there. That's literally what we were basing our observations off of, because we don't get anything from SpaceX. There isn't a press release at the end of the day saying we did a 1-engine static fire. If they do cool things, sometimes they'll tweet about them, but that's about it. Everything else we just have to guess based off what we've seen before and kind of conjure together what we think is happening. So we are now 4 minutes to the hour, which is potentially roughly when the test time for whatever is going to happen today is, we believe, scheduled to occur based on the fact that we saw the flaps moving, and those typically move about 10 minutes before, in terms of a static fire test, it would be in ignition. If it's another type of test, then whatever the test objective for that test will be. So we are approaching that time. Again, for the people joining us who might not be as in the know, sometimes there are holds. So if we don't see something happening immediately, don't panic. That's normal. This is still a test campaign. It's in the name. It's a static fire test. So we will continue watching, but we could be about 3 minutes away from that test taking place, and we now enter the very awkward phase of not wanting to talk over the test, but not also wanting to leave any dead air.
Yeah,
So
vents are dying down too, so that's a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the things of masses as well. We don't have a view of the deluge system or anything like that. Like, we cannot anticipate a test until it actually happens, right? Like, until we actually see the engines fire up and the exhaust and the plumes coming out of the trench. That is our cue. It's not 30 seconds before, or at least 10 seconds before. Nope, just fire in the hole and
Just kind of happens.
it goes. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So we are now about 2 minutes away from the top of the hour, and again we're going to just keep standing by to see what happens. There are plenty of birds flying around. I'm not sure they'll be too happy should all 6 Raptors ignite in a few minutes.
Everybody remember to breathe, blink, and all the things.
Exactly.
What do you mean I shouldn't blink? What?
Okay, very briefly, in the meantime, I'm going to thank Delta for Heavy. Thank you for becoming a PadRap member. Get that out of the way while I can. I see some more support in chat, but they're longer, so I'm not going to read those out because we are potentially under 90 seconds now from today's test. We have the trademark full liquid oxygen load and sliver of methane load on the ship. And we saw the flaps moving about 9 minutes ago. So add those together, it gives us a test potentially in 60 seconds time. Other than that, we can't tell you much because we are completely guessing what's going to happen. But fingers crossed, it is a 6-engine static fire, because that is the biggest open item on this ship right now. It's one of the things SpaceX really needs to get done before they think about flying. And should everything go well, we could be seeing Flight 13 this month. Fingers crossed. Like 30
Let's
seconds
see.
away. Venting very much died down compared to a few minutes ago, so everything looking good. But again, if there are holds that we don't know about, there's nothing to panic about. Potentially, if they are targeting the top of the hour, about 10 seconds away. Let's just stand by and wait patiently and see if we get any kind of ignition. Not seeing anything just yet.
This is where you play the Jeopardy music.
Exactly.
Where you're just waiting.
Come on,
Again,
Ship 40.
There could be holds, there could be final things they're looking to check out. So, again, no need to panic. We, just like you at home, are going to be sitting here very patiently until the ship does something. Still sitting there, about 1 minute past the hour now.
Yeah, and it could be any second now.
Literally. All of a sudden it could just
Maybe
like
now?
we're gonna
We'll
we're
find
gonna
if-
start
if
doing
I
that now.
Maybe now? No, I'm not
I
going to do
bet
it.
you do that for every 5 seconds for the next
Yeah.
like couple minutes until it goes.
Ah,
we
there we
go.
go.
Yeah, it's gonna be 60. Cut down.
Yeah, and that looks like a 60-second static fire of Ship 40. Looks like a little bit of a staggered shutdown at the end there, and of course the huge plume we've become accustomed to now, rising over the Massey's test site, thanks to the winds, the ship about to be engulfed in that plume, smoke screen activated. Fingers crossed the views don't disintegrate. There
Actually
we
looks
go.
like it went to the west.
Staying in front of the plume. But there you go. Looks like it ran from about 1:20 or 1 minute 25 past the hour till 2:25 past the hour. So Ryan, looks like a
Staggered
pretty good
shutdown,
test
which
to
is
me.
normal too. So
Yep. Wow, look at that.
And there's the plume.
there it is.
Oh my
Well, it got a
goodness.
minute to go up.
Well, you can tell that vMix decided to pick the exact best moment to vMix isn't. vMix isn't. Our streaming software is back. and decided, it could have been worse. It could have been
Yeah.
so much worse. And thank goodness it chose that specific moment because, the plume is so big it broke the stream. But we're back, everybody. Okay. Ryan, I think you might have been cut off there. So if you want to continue, please do.
I'm trying to even think what I was saying at that point, but
Good test.
either way.
Yippee.
Yeah. Hey, we're back. But yeah, full 60-second duration, staggered shutdown, which is normal. Looked like a nominal static fire to me. Didn't see anything outwardly wrong with anything that went on there. So now is a detank and depress of ship 40 at this rate, which they probably already started detanking. They usually do that pretty quickly after the fact. We won't see the frost line go down until later because frost line is not indicative of how much prop there actually is left on it. The tanks tend to stay cold after the fact. So over the next hour or so, it'll detank and then roll back tomorrow during the day. And then 40 is basically going to get its final checks, its payload, and it's going to wait on its other half, Booster 20.
It did look to me, at least, that was all 6 engines running for a good chunk of time.
Yeah, it seemed to me that it was basically 6 engines. Yeah.
Fingers crossed we get that engine bay camera again. That'd be nice to see. Of course, we'll have replays on the way as well because we had a few. I'm looking at the multi-view here. We had a few different cameras looking at Massey's at the time of the test. That plume is still rising into the sky. So we will have replays of all of those coming up later on when they get pulled in and set up. So we will be showing those to you when we have them. And I think we can finally all have a deep breath and answer some more questions. So if you do have questions for us, tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight at NSF. And finally, a calmer moment to go through these. Now we've seen Ship 40 static fire. It's a good question. When will Booster 20 static fire? Which is what Oak Swing is asking. Alex, when do you think we'll see Booster 20 headed to the pad to do some long-awaited static fire testing?
I don't know. It depends also on what kind of... Because one of the things that we have not seen them yet, or at least that I remember, with boosters is rolling out for static fire pretty much already in a almost flight-ready configuration. I guess you can say that, technically Booster 19's sort of second rollout to the pad was a little bit like that. Put it aside, like on a booster transport stand, just to remove like test equipment and things like that. Then they put it back on the mount and say, okay, it's flight ready, launch it. Like maybe that's part of their future. Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna be this flight. It depends on how soon they want to do that. I think if they want to still launch this month for Flight 13 and they do it sort of more old style, they really need to get Booster 20 out there like now, to get it done this month. But if they are planning to have it more ready for flight closer to launch and and do all the testing closer to launch, then maybe it can be like 2 weeks from now and still be able to launch in July. We'll see.
Fingers
maybe it's
crossed.
next week.
Yeah, that would be nice. Well, yeah, actually that would be great timing. Maybe like Saturday or something. Nice timing for Starship update. Just saying. I am aware that we are having some technical difficulties with the audio, so we do apologise for that. We'll try to get that figured out, but I can assure you that we are still here, so do not panic if you hear us cut out for a couple of seconds. Let's go here through some more questions. Well, first of all, Tony Gomez, thank you for your support, asking, heard a rumour once about a launch site at Massey's. What do you think about that? See you kids at the ranch in a few weeks. Is that Anthony? I can't tell. Ryan, I think a launch site at Massey's is probably not going to happen, just purely based off of location and having to overfly a now populated area to get over the Gulf.
There's never been a rumor about a launch site at Massey's. The only thing I ever heard was someone would put a catch tower at Massey's, and there's only one person I ever heard saying that. That's all I'm going to say. But they would need an EIS to do a launch site at Massey's, an environmental impact statement, because it's a couple of miles away from the launch site where it currently is. That's a whole launch site, launch pad. They'd need then a launch license to do it. There's a whole load of things to even remotely get approval to, let alone build a pad, let alone launch from it. That's never been a thing, and it'll never be a thing. They've got they'll have 2 pads at the launch site. They've got 3 at the Cape coming up. Who knows how many they'll have in Louisiana. At Vandy, that's my guess. Well, I'll wait for the announcement for an EIS and put on my shocked Pikachu face when that comes out for Vandenberg. And yeah, they don't need that.
Astro 95 Media. Thank you, Nathan. AC Fund for Ryan. Thank you for your support. I'm not sure I can take that to the air conditioning company and say, please install me a full system. But thank you for your support nonetheless. And Space Pope, thanks for the... why am I suddenly getting hot weather advice? Don't swim in your bin, Ryan. I wasn't planning to, but thank you for the tip nonetheless, Space Pope.
There's a handle in your shower that if you turn it, it you can do that.
Thank you. Now the ship has tested that we are going into some thrilling analysis here on the NSF stream. If you turn the handle in the shower, the water is cold. I didn't know that.
There's another one for hot water. You don't want that on the summer. You want the other one. Not. Fun fact, here the water comes out so hot that you don't need the hot water. Because it's 40 degrees outside. Celsius, not Fahrenheit.
I guess that's quite energy efficient then, isn't it? Because you don't have to
It is.
spend energy heating the water because the sun's already done it for you.
Yeah.
It's quite renewable. It's quite green. Anyways, Sideshow Bob, how many times can they fuel for a static fire without refilling the farm? Ryan, do we know the capacity of the tank farm at Massey's? I would imagine it's not.
Total capacity, I could run the numbers down. They have it's going to change soon because they're about to upgrade their LN2 side. But Lock side, I think they got 4 of the 950 cubic meter tanks for Locks is what they're running right now, which each of those can hold 1,100 metric tons of liquid oxygen. Each of the LN2 tanks they've got there, so I think they just brought in 2 1,000 cubic meter ones. But each of the 950, any of the 950s they're using can hold 767 metric tons of LN2. And then methane, they've got the 2 vertical tanks of methane that you see there. So the ones that are closest to the truss structure, there's 2 ones, and then they've got a single horizontal one. The horizontal one by itself can hold 400 metric tons of methane. The 2 vertical ones, probably not much more. So they probably have like 500 metric tons of methane out there, but they don't really need that much. They're never really going to fill the methane tank on ship. They don't need to. That's kind of pointless, to be honest. And even if they didn't need to, the amount of methane they have could fill that entire tank. It's just, that's a risk that they'll probably never, ever do. Because there's a reason why SpaceX has only ever put the exact amount of methane that they needed. It's so that they don't pull a New Glenn. which is a procedure I assume that Blue Origin is going to change once they get back to flying. They won't do that anymore. So, yeah.
I like that the new Glenn has now become an adjective for when things go horrifically wrong at a launch pad. But that being said, they are recovering quite quickly. And if you want to learn all about that, I made a video yesterday over on the Breaking Space channel. Mods, do the thing in chat. There you go. Video plugged already. Only, how many minutes are we into the stream? Hour or so? Let's see. Later YT, thank you for the World Cup update saying Belgium are cooking W Belgium. The opinions of later YT HB9VG do not reflect the opinions of those on the panel because
I thought that was a heat wave sort of thing because, you know, they're cooking.
Belgium are doing a football match or something right now. So, yeah.
Who is it with?
Senegal.
Oh.
It's 2-2. I just pulled up the BBC website.
I'm not aware because I'm not following the World Cup. So.
Yeah, well, Spain are going to lose and England are going to win. So that's all I can tell you about that one. Domino Plays.
How did the Euro Cup went 2 years ago?
I can't even remember. I don't know what I had for tea. What kind of tests do you guys think will be done with the strange nose cone, the one with the tube sticking out thingy? Ryan, give us your best guesses, because at least our official prediction on Starship Update on Monday, which you should watch if you haven't already, was that it's going to be used for like pushing against the inside of the structure, I believe.
Structural validation. Multiple parts of that nose cone. So tip of the nose cone, interior of the nose cone. I expect whatever setup they do over at the Super Crusher, which is my guess is where it's going to go. You'll have actuators set up around the outside. They'll do attach points to maybe the bottom or the inside of the nose cone as well. Basically, my expectation is there, because they have not tested the new nose cone. They didn't even test it for Block 2. All they did, they tested it for what was it? They tested the original NC-12, which they did a max Q test on. They haven't really tested a nose cone since. So this is a structural validation. And my guess is they're doing it because they expect to be flying over land soon with it. So that might be why they're doing it now, and they're getting ready to catch the ship. So that's why they're doing this now rather than before. And as we all know, they want to do that on Flight 14, so they kind of need to get this thing out and get it tested sooner rather than later, because Flight 14 could be 3 or 4 months away, probably 4. But either way, they need to get going on testing that thing. So that's my expectation. I think booster rate, the B18.3 test tank that's in the superstructure right now, it's going to get some squeeze testing with the chopstick sims that they have. And then that'll be done with testing. They'll take that out. They'll reconfigure the super crusher. The nose cone will go in there. They'll hook it all up. They'll do a bunch of tests with that. I don't know. It shouldn't be filled with cryo because there really isn't any cryo in there. And that it does have headers, so they might fill the headers with cryo. I don't know how they'll have that set up, but there's a possibility they do it that way. But it's going to be just structural validation. That's my guess.
And stand by, everybody. We are going to attempt to fix the audio problems. We'll be right back.
Maybe we are now? I can hear myself, so yes.
Are we back? Okay. I was told go once before, so hopefully the second go is actually go. October Sky is asking, how many people will it take to staff a fully operational gigabay? Alex.
Oof. I would say probably a few hundred, especially if you have like a constant 24/7 operation. Then you probably need 2 or 3 shifts, depending on how long the 1 hour stress these people. But yeah, a few hundred at the very least. I don't know, maybe 400 or 500. I would say, and I may even be short with that. But yeah.
I mean, it's like 24 bays or something like that, and you're going to have a few people per. Well, that's assuming each bay has something to be worked on in it. But it's a lot of people. It's a lot of bays, and for a lot of bays, you need a lot of people. So I don't even know what the SpaceX careers website is off the top of my head, but there you go. Astro Wanderer, do you think the booster will do a less aggressive flip after separation this time? Well, Ryan, maybe the last flip wasn't supposed to be that aggressive, but what do you think? I hope they fix that.
In the wrong direction.
Yeah, that's another part of it.
My guess is a bunch of software changes through between ship ignition sequence, booster reignition sequence, all that other stuff. The flip will go the way it's supposed to, and it should work just fine. SpaceX has proven pretty well in the past to be able to fix that kind of thing pretty quickly. I think it's a Raptor ignition sequencing issue. I think they'll get it fixed. There may be some hardware things here and there, but I don't think that's going to be too much. I think a lot of it's going to be software to fix that.
Chem Dude. There. I mean, it's a good question, Alex. Why are they putting the header tanks there if they're going to have to put a docking port there one day?
Well, the vehicle that's carrying a docking port, it's the HLS, the Human Landing System lander, not every other ship. Like, it's only one type of ship, right? And so, in that case, it's probably better if you just don't have the header tanks on that version. Like, you just create a specific version that doesn't have the header tanks on the nose cone, and then you've got the docking port there. Other than that, I mean, the header tanks are in the nose cone because of the balancing that they need to do during reentry, and like this is the full reason. Because when they were on the SN era, when they did the 10-kilometer hops, right? The methane tank, the methane header tank was in the middle of the ship, basically like at the bottom of the main methane tank, and so sort of they had like a little bowl at the bottom of that tank that was the header tank for the methane. For the liquid oxygen, it was still in the tip, but they didn't have both of the header tanks, and that tip it sort of worked as a counterbalance to the very heavy engines that they have at the bottom for reentry, because of the way that the size of the flaps and the way that the aerodynamics work with the center of gravity for those engines being so down. Like, if they didn't have the header tank, the ship will try to basically like pitch up and try to be like engines first. Very similar to what the booster does, or what Falcon 9 also does that as well, because of the aerodynamics. Or they will need like very big and heavy heavy flaps, basically, that wouldn't really work that well. And so that is one of the reasons they put, for example, the methane tank. It made sense because from the SN era to the orbital ships like these ones, they have the 3 extra RVAC engines, the Raptor vacuum engines. And so that is very critical for reentry when you have that ship coming sideways, and then you need to balance where your weights are located and how the flaps are controlling the vehicle. That is very important. HLS doesn't have that problem. It doesn't go through a reentry or anything. It doesn't need to do, and like it doesn't even have flaps, so it doesn't have that problem. You can remove the header tanks. Like, you just don't install those header tanks on the nose cones when you produce the HLS vehicles. That's basically the only other thing that you will have to do. You just don't install it. It's not like you can even, like, it's not that you even have to remove anything. You just don't install it in the first place. It's sort of like, when they fly Falcon 9 expendable, and it's like you didn't remove anything. You just don't build in the grid fins and the landing legs and all that stuff. You just don't install that. Similarly with HLS, do we know if they're gonna need header tanks anyways? Maybe they still need header tanks, but they've demonstrated in the past that they can place those on the main tanks. They just don't need it on the nose cone because it's not doing reentry. So maybe they do have some kind of header tank system still on the HLS ships, but it's maybe in the main tanks. That might be useful, for example, for the landing thrusters, to have a separate set of tanks. Just to put an example.
Sorry, Alex's answer was so long that I just completely blanked out. But thank you, Alex. What I was going to say, I remember what I was going to say. We apologise for the echo that there was a moment ago. I think the echo was fixed, but yes. The audio problems should now be resolved, and I realised I said that like 5 minutes ago, and they weren't. But fingers crossed they actually are now. Thank you for bearing with us as we chew the fat following that 6-engine static fire. 60 seconds, 6-engine, 6, I don't know, engine static fire just after 6 o'clock Eastern time, which isn't even this time zone, but it works, whatever. Moving on. Juan, thank you for your support. Wouldn't it be more test like you fly to do the single engine static fire after holding post 6-engine static fire? I mean, Brian, technically, but then they'd have to do a 6-engine static fire for like, what would it be, like 5 minutes, and then wait half an hour, and then do a single engine static fire? Seems a bit much.
Yeah, that would be the exactly test as you fly, and well, the trench can't handle that. Yeah, the trench would be slag and no more after that.
Yeah.
But basically a minute is about what it can do. Yeah, they can't really do that. I mean, they could do a 60-second wait and then do a single engine in theory, but that's about all they could really do. You can simulate other ways to do it, like they did with the single engine, but truly, and if I'm being entirely honest here, the only way to test as you fly is to actually fly the ship and do a single engine static fire, a single engine fire and burn in space. It's about the only way you're going to be able to truly test that, because you can't simulate being in space on the ground. That's not a thing. Not with a ship, anyways. So.
There's also the fact that...
Oh, go on, Alex.
Go ahead, Ryan. No, go.
No, you go.
I was going to say there's... Okay, I was going to say there's something
also England won't do in the World Cup.
There's also limitations to how much test like you fly you can do, because test like you fly works up to a point, right? Like you cannot really hold down the booster for the entire 2.5 minute burn to depletion, for example. If you were to do a booster static fire test like that, they only have done a few seconds after all, and so now they can at least do it at full thrust, which they couldn't do it on the previous pad and with the previous version of the boosters. And similarly with the ship, it's like, well, at least they now have massive test sites. When they had just Superorbital Pad B, remember those times? They could only do like maybe 10 seconds or so, and I don't even think that was even full thrust. Might have been, but I'm not sure it was, because I mean that was pure concrete basically they were firing at with all 6 engines. And so yeah, they are getting better at testing like you fly, as in, recreating the conditions. But there's also the fact that you cannot fully do the full mission test on the ground. Like the full profile is quite complicated. You can replicate different parts of the test of the full mission, like we saw last week, for example, with a single engine test, where they held for, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes or so with like a minimal amount of propellant. And they loaded the header tanks and everything, and they vented the tanks and all that stuff. So it seems like in that sense, in that particular test, they were probably sort of testing the dedicated, single engine test that they want to do.
I now can't even remember what I was going to say because I was going to say something really funny and then I conceded to Alex.
That's
and I'm
why
now
I wanted
regretting
to.
that.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to let you talk first.
Yeah. Rookie error.
By the way,
Yeah, I literally have no
we're-
idea what I was going to say. Go on, Ryan.
we're mostly detanked at this point. Methane's completely out. The LOX is probably nearly gone. The LOX frost is already at half, and we already know that that's just the tank being cold. I would not be surprised if the LOX tank was nearly empty at this point. So we're pretty close to done detanking and whatnot. So they're getting it safe and everything. They did a decent depress after the static fire, and they'll do another smaller one, which is basically it's getting impossible to see from this view when they do it because a lot of the vents that they use are pointed the opposite direction when they do the depress. Plus, the background lighting makes it really hard to tell. But they're almost entirely done with this thing.
Bideford, thank you for your support as always. Have to leave for a meeting. Great 30-second static fire. Thank you, Bideford. Very much appreciated as always. Just gone past 5:30 in the evening local time. We do still have replays on the way. A little bit delayed because, as you might have noticed, we had some technical difficulties right after the static fire and then we tried to fix the audio, but they are still coming. So if you want to see the replays, do stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Jack Granger is asking, will boosters shipped to the Kennedy Space Center be kitted out with engines and grid fins, or will they just be barely stacked and finish the rest in the Roberts Road Gigabay? Alex, my gut guess would be that they will be fully kitted out initially when they send the first few out there, but I mean, eventually they're going to have production facilities, so maybe later down the line they'll just be barrels and then put the engines on when they get to Florida. What do you think?
I think for boosters, at the very least, they might install the engines. Might not necessarily need all of the grid fins. At least 2 of them might be needed. Although I guess they can also two of them for being able to rotate the booster. I'm guessing. Maybe they don't, and they just use the forward truss for that. But we'll see how they do that. Frankly, I'm not too worried about the grid fins themselves. Those are easy to install, and they probably can do that once they arrive at Florida. I do think that the booster can probably be tested in Florida. Like maybe they can get things easier if they do it first here at Starbase, and then they transport the boosters with the engines installed. The ships, though, I think they're just gonna go pretty much ready to fly. Like they're probably gonna roll off Massey's and go down to the port and be already, shipped out. I think that's probably how it's gonna work because they don't have any Massey's in Florida.
Well, Massey's is Massey's, but it would be I know what you're saying. They don't have a test site, the equivalent of Massey's at Florida, just yet. I mean, never say never. I would, if I was a betting man, I would say there's probably a higher likelihood they'll have some kind of test site than they won't. But we'll just have to wait and see what SpaceX ends up building with all of the land they have available. We are going to give you, there you go, a live view of Pad 2 as well, because we are expecting a deluge test. They've been testing this pad so much over the past couple of weeks, and we've been seeing some kind of different timed tests as well. I think that's a replay on the right, because we've just suddenly time warped. So you're gonna get 2 for the price of 1. We're getting 2 tests simultaneously. I did not realize on the right that was a replay, but there you go. We are getting replays running. What was I saying? Oh yeah, they've been doing kind of different timed deluge tests, which could potentially be for running the deluge when a booster or ship comes back in for a catch, which won't be going ahead on the next flight, but fingers crossed the flight after that, they'll be able to catch the booster when they get their things all sorted out. Okay, live pictures again on the right side. That was not meant to be the replay. There you go. We'll do it live, everybody. But we just saw one test with Ship 40. Maybe we're about to see another test with Pad 2. 2 tests for the price of 1. Why not?
Yeah, there's no timeline on it. The top deck is primed. It could literally just fire off at any second. They could close the clamps and the BQDs and then fire it off.
It's gonna happen with a truck going by.
Yeah, it's a lot of times though they have been using a sheriff to block the road when they're about to do it. That's not there right now. So either we're waiting for that or they'll just fire it because they've done that too in the past. So it could just go at any point or it could not go for a while. It's kind of one of those things. It's just, yeah, there's no timeline on when those things will fire and there's no indication either. It just goes. So.
I mean, I don't understand why they've suddenly decided they need to block the road while they run the deluge test, because Gage ran through it and recorded it, and we put it in a video, and he's turned out fine. So I don't know what the worry is about giving everyone on Highway 4 a free car wash, because I mean, judging by some of the vehicles we're seeing drive in front of our camera here, they need it. The drivers would be grateful to drive through the deluge, I'm sure. And as we know, it's completely safe, potable water, very safe to drink, and does not damage anything at all.
Totally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what they say.
So what's funny, here's what's funny. They are setting up a small water treatment station to reduce the acidity of the water that the deluge uses, because every time it goes to the deluge, it's not great. It'll increase the acidity because of the combustion byproducts of the gas gens of the gas that goes into the water itself. So they're building something to help then flush and clean the water before they put it back into the tanks. They don't have it yet, but they're building that right now, is what it looks like. So that water's totally safe. Yes, exactly. It's potable water. Yep. Uh-huh.
Don't they use sodium bicarbonate or whatever it's called for acid reflux? Maybe they can do this here.
I was going to say,
just drop that.
If they're worried about the acidity of the water, does that mean that the deluge technically uses sparkling water?
I guess.
Is there a Topo Chico sponsorship somewhere in here?
Oh my god. Jack will probably drink that water. Yeah, because it gets the nitrogen, right? But it also gets the combustion products like the gaseous oxygen and gaseous methane, plus the combustion products of that, which is ironically more water, but also CO2 as well, and that's probably what gives it the acidity, right? And I guess with the nitrogen, it probably has some nitrous oxides or something like that. But yeah.
I am looking through here for some more questions. So if you do have anything on your mind and you want us to attempt at answering it, do tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight or at NSF. And that brings it into a nice organized queue we have in the background here. We have ResistoJet who's asking, do you think SpaceX will do more simulations of flight profiles and relights as we saw the other day and as they look to mission objectives in orbit? Alex, what do you think? My untrained and kind of guess would be probably not, because, I mean, other than relighting an engine in space, what else does Starship really do? I mean, that seems like its core purpose, like light engine in space, deploy payload.
Yeah.
What else does Starship do in space? I can't think. I guess
the only thing you could say, well, they've got the like a translunar injection burner or something like that. Right, simulated on the ground, but then again, that's probably like 6 minutes long as well, or something like that, or a transmartian injection burner or things like that. Those are probably going to be very much just like the ascent burn, with the only difference that you don't have the thrust of the booster to do that. So maybe in that case, what they might do is like start with the center 3 engines, start drawing propellant from the header tanks to sort of fully settle the main tanks, and then transition to main tanks, light up the RVACs, and continue the burn. Like that's probably one thing that I can think of them maybe trying for longer burns where they need to use the main tanks instead of the header tanks. Because right now, when they do the short relight in orbit, they use only the header tanks, and it's only one engine for a very short amount of time. But when you have to light up the main tanks, not the main tanks, but like all engines drawing propellants from the main tanks, and you don't have a booster behind you, like during ascent, that is pushing all of that propellant down, how do you do it? Well, maybe you just fire thrusters and do it sort of normally, just like they do for the header tank ones. But maybe they just get the help out of those header tanks and say, let's light up the 3 center engines on the header tanks, and then quickly transition to main tanks, and then that way, because in that transition, sort of you have already settled the propellants, and now you can start up the RVACs, which I think, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, the RVACs are not connected to the headers, right? So
They are not.
yeah, they
Not
could
the
only
time we saw the internals of a ship, they are not. I'll just say that. They shouldn't be anyways. There's no reason to have the RVACs hooked in. But we have not seen inside of a ship aft since ship 36, which taught us a lot about what the inside of a ship looks like. If, yeah.
So that could be a test that they could do on the ground, for example, if they really needed to do that sort of thing of doing like a transition between tanks. They used to do it with the SN tanks because during the hop era, those 10-kilometer hops, they used the main tanks during ascent, but then they needed to transition to header tanks at the end of the ascent portion when they did the hover on just one engine. And so they needed to do dumps of liquid oxygen. They needed to do transitioning to header tanks. So they did a few tests on the ground, testing that transition during engine tests. But, it was actually after the first flight. It was already, I think, might have been SN9 or SN10 that did that sort of test on the ground. But yeah, that could be one of the things that they may do with this version. I don't think they've ever done that sort of thing with the new version of the ships since then, basically.
I'm now seeing chat talking about this football match that's going on again. Apparently, so there's drama happening, which sounds very interesting. So interesting that I'm going to ask another question from Ziggy, who's asking, what is up with the white tiles? Ryan, I'm going to assume they are talking about the other weird nose cone, because we don't have enough weird nose cones right now. That's in the Star Factory that we talked about in Starship Update on Monday. What's going on with the white tiles?
There's like 4 weird nose cones right now.
The white tiles are kind of placement tiles, basically. They're not, they could be normal tiles without the coating, or they could just be, basic tile, like not actual tiles, just kind of like test tiles. Basically, what SpaceX is doing with that nose cone, which doesn't have header tanks, by the way, they're just testing different tile configs. So on the leeward side, it looks like they might go ahead and test square tiles. On the tip of the nose cone, they're testing pins, which from basically, this is the first time you would have pins on the tip of the nose cone. Everything else has been adhesive. So they're just kind of testing different things. So they're basically doing a lot of ship testing with nose cones inside the Star Factory. So, yeah.
Apparently the football match is done now, so we can finally focus on something of actual importance. Belgium, which is a country in Europe.
Oh, there's the weird nose cone that they were talking about with the white tiles.
Yep. They're testing some things.
Yeah.
Doesn't have headers on it.
Yeah, it's not the only nose cone that they have there for weird testing. they've got, of course, the other one that we're talking about with a pipe. There's also pipe. It's more like an opening for a ram, maybe to go inside and sort of do load testing there. There's another one that is also being tiled, I think, right now. It's also getting those thingies, the pins. There we go. But yeah, it seems like they're just trying to test sort of
Huh.
different ways of doing that.
So right now, not only were they primed to do a top deck, the BQDs are extended, clamps are extended, SQD is extended, and the landing rails are up. So
Should we grab a wider view of this then?
they might be doing a full launch sequence run at some point, which
Maybe something that can see the sky.
it could happen at any point.
Well, I can see the sky. It's blue.
It was a hint.
More
There we go.
sky.
It was a hint to Jay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Well,
yeah, I can
if
see
they,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if they're doing a full launch run, why are the chopsticks down there? Like, shouldn't they be at the top of the tower?
Maybe they're just not doing it with the chopsticks. Maybe it's just the QD arm and the mount.
Okay.
I mean, the arms don't do anything during liftoff, anyways. Like they just stay open at the top. They do nothing. So, if they're just testing like that T0 moment, they're not useful.
Yeah, and I'll say to everyone, the launch sequence that they're going to do, which will likely be retract of everything and then swing the arm out and possibly run the deluge at the same time. This could happen in 2 seconds. It could happen in an hour. There is
Or
no
2 hours.
timeline to know when this happens. It's always cool when it happens, but there's no timeline to know when it does. We're watching it because if it happens, we'd like to catch it, obviously, because it's always cool to see that launch sequence. So,
I just want to apologise and offer a correction because our chief World Cup correspondent Ryan Caton apparently made a mistake. Apparently, it's still going. I don't understand how this works, but this 90-minute game has now lasted 130 minutes. So,
called overtime.
Yeah.
This stream is about to go into overtime with what on earth they're doing at Pad 2. I literally have no idea what's happening anymore. But we'll see. We'll see.
Now I'm
The
curious.
best-
Do they use cold water? Is it warm water? What comes out of that?
That comes out of the deluge.
Maybe it's a little bit warm, right? Because of the
Well,
exhaust of
the tanks are probably just temperature outside, but they are white tanks, so they're kind of helps with the temperature a little bit. But whatever temperature the tanks are could be a lot of times what the water is. But as anyone knows, the water needs a decent amount of thermal input to warm up. It's one of those liquids that takes a bit. But they are basically taking hot nitrogen gas and dumping it into the tanks. So I mean, it could
Might
be
actually get
cool,
cooler,
but
right,
it takes a
when-
lot to heat it up.
Yeah, it might actually get cooler when it sort of throws out
Well,
of
it
the.
sprays out and then it
Yeah,
cools
when it
off
sprays
as it
out,
sprays
yeah.
out. Yeah.
That was a word.
In
I
the
was
lines, it's
looking
probably
for.
a little bit warmer, but it cools off as it sprays out.
Yeah. Ha! Punching in.
Wow.
There we go.
Look at that. The budget is just. Well, I can tell you how we can afford to do that transition because Bideford has just done a $50 super chat saying, keeping the man crispy in my prayers. Thank you, Bideford. Yeah, look at this. We've got new transitions. Well, it's not new. It's just fancy transitions. But there you go. Enhance the view of Pad 2. Unintentionally rhyming.
All the budget just went to this. The audio?
Yeah.
No.
No. The audio?
We're just
We
joking.
don't care
by
about the
way. This
audio.
was a joke. Let it be known.
We're going to put everything on merge transition so we can zoom in on the pad. You can tell that there's not a lot of stuff to talk about, can't you? Whilst we sit here patiently to wait for things to happen. Could happen at any time. Let's see. Also in the support, Space Pope, do I need to provide an audio system exorcism? I think the jury's still out on that one. And 26 Hazmat, thank you for becoming
Seems to
a
be
Pad
Latin.
Rat member.
Do you think starships know Latin?
Starships what?
Do they know Latin? The language.
Oh, do they know Latin?
Yeah.
Sorry, you're saying do they know Latin? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Do they know Latin? Yes.
I
Maybe
don't
for
know
the
if
exorcism?
starships know Latin. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I
was
have a feeling
that was a
this is a
water
reference
truck?
I don't get.
Going down the road?
Well, it's a bit late. They're about to start.
I was gonna say. Bro, turn around.
Bro, turn around.
But yeah,
Let's
let's see if they do the deluge test.
Luke Lanyon is asking, when Starship is in orbit and we see it surrounded by gas/ice/stuff, is that unique to Starship, or do other upper stages have the same? Alex, I would say other upper stages, at least cryogenic stages, have the same, unless they have insulation.
Yeah, you see always like ice falling off and things like that. You see like off gassing here and there as well. It pretty much, like I cannot. I don't know how many times we've covered a Falcon 9 launch, and every single time people think there's a UFO because there's some bit of flake of ice coming off the booster or the second stage or something like that, and they just say that's a UFO. No, that's the payload actually, or it's the fairings or something like that. Like there's been so many times, and I've tried to explain that's ice. That's ice. No, it's not what you say. It's ice. Like it's not the payload. The payload goes in the front for the record. The fairings you wouldn't be able to see them from the booster because the booster separates like 30 seconds before. The fairings are like already like a few kilometers away. The camera is not that good to catch the fairings that far out. And they are not below the booster either. Like there's so many times where this happens. I just have to go and be like, no, it's just ice. So it happens with Starship. It happens with Falcon 9, and there are other rockets as well. It's just that all the rockets don't have as good rocket cams as Starship and Falcon 9 do.
I'm hearing a complaint about an echo.
Well, you get double the Alex answer. There you go. You're welcome, chat.
I will patiently wait until this is resolved. It's probably not the most nice thing to listen to.
Echo.
You see a white rabbit, don't follow him. Some people are having fun about it.
Okay, I'm being told to talk, so fingers crossed it's fixed. We have replays now that this football match that people are interested in is done. We can look at replays because that's more interesting. So let's take a look at the 60-second 6-engine static fire just after 6 o'clock Eastern Time. There we go. It's so much. It's really interesting just how much brighter that initial orange flash is from the aft of the vehicle with the 6 engines is compared to the 1 engine, which we saw last week. It's just so bright with, all 3 sea levels. And of course, you've got the 3 vacuums running on there as well, which have the much bigger nozzle. And then it basically looks like this for about another 45 seconds. But I especially am interested when we get to it, of course, in seeing Caesar's angle again, because it's really interesting to see the staggered shutdown of the Raptors on or through the mount. What we can see, at least, when there aren't test tanks stood in front of it. But Ryan, do you think that they would have used this test to try and refine their startup times? Because we were talking about that earlier. That was a problem on the last flight. The
For stage separation, shutdown would be your normal seat-go shutdown. It's just condensed, obviously, because you're not going to run it again for 60 seconds. You're not going to... Oh, deluge.
There we go.
I mean, Sheriff is doing a great job at blocking the road there.
There's the other sheriff that came up.
The cutie arm did not retract. And
It created a rainbow.
Nice rainbow.
Yay.
Well, all I'm going to say is typical, because they waited until the moment we started doing replays to do their deluge test. So thanks, SpaceX. We really appreciate it. You could have done that like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. I was going to say, actually, before you did that question earlier, that Caesar ran from doing the Ship 40 coverage to pad because of the deluge being prepared. Yeah, the road was getting closed in. Yeah. They already did the test anyway.
Now they might do a second one at lower power with the ridge and the top deck in about 8 minutes. Because I don't see the system depressing.
Blue truck is getting told off by the sheriff.
No, I think he's also a sheriff.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
I think I saw blue and red lights. So
Wow. Road seems... Well, there's a Cybertruck driving by, so...
How long were the 2 tests the other day? It seems like it was like 12 minutes apart or something like that.
I think they were like 8. I think they were normal time for a booster to come back, right? Something like that, whatever the time is again.
Yeah. They did not retract the... I just see it that they also did not retract the booster disconnects and the...
I got a nice wash.
And the hold downs. Yeah.
And the CH4 system depressed over at Massey, so that's another sign that they're basically done over there. Roll back tomorrow, 10 a.m. What is it? 10 to 2? I think it is.
I think so. Let me check.
Yep, 10 to 2, middle of the day tomorrow. So by the time we do a Raptor side tomorrow, it should 40 should be already back in Mega Bay 2, or at least in the ring yard. So
well, we are still waiting for this deluge thing to happen, so feel free to stay tuned, because there is still action to come, even though not as exciting, I will admit, than a 6-engine static fire, but still action nonetheless.
They've been doing a lot of these deluge tests to try to nail down their pressures and everything else. I would expect another one tomorrow. Well, they'll refill it, probably do again tomorrow, refill it, do another one after the day after that. They've been recycling every 24 hours or so with the top deck because they have to close the road for a little bit for that. So they've been doing that. When they did when they were doing that trench deluge for like 4 or 5 days in a row, it was about every 12 hours they were recycling, give or take. They've just been bringing it. The water line's not operational yet, so they've been bringing in a bunch of MOVAC trucks, and they either hook up with a line or they just They literally dump their water into the retention pond, and then through the retention pond, they pump it into the tanks. Is what they've been doing a lot, which is kind of a hilarious way to do it, but it's what they've been doing. And that's how they've been filling up the tanks and then running it again and again and again. And they save some water out of the retention pond, plus save some water that's left over in the trench with the sump pumps that are in the trench. So they've just been kind of recycling and doing it. They're trying to test pressures, test timings, test other things. I don't even know how many deluges they've done total for this pad, but they've far surpassed any kind of amount of deluge tests they've ever done. They ever did with the old pad. They were very sparingly in when they did those. These are like candy to them. They could do them every single day, but that's kind of what they've been doing.
And I want to see another deluge test. So I think the scientifically guaranteed way of getting another deluge test is to look at another replay. This is Caesar's perspective, and yeah, I love the startup sequence from Caesar's perspective because you can just see it's almost like the Saturn V ignition sequence in the Apollo 13 film. It's like the plume goes big and then it gets sucked back into, because of the pressure, the plume gets sucked back into the flame trench. It almost looks like it probably is doing the same thing there with Starship. It's like this big orange blob and then it just gets into the flame trench. You're welcome for the sound effects. But yeah, and especially even better than that is the shutdown sequence because, of course, it's a staggered shutdown sequence. All the engines don't stop at the same time. They shut them down in a specific sequence on ship. So I've completely lost track of how long this replay has been running for. So fingers crossed that's in a second. There we go. There's the first shutdown, slightly smaller plume now, and then the second shutdown. That's cool.
Yeah. You can see a bit of the what I usually call the show off of the methane when it shuts down the engine. Sort of it still has a little bit of unburned fuel that still gets released by the engine, even though it's not producing any meaningful thrust. It still sort of releases a bit of methane, but it gets burned off with atmospheric oxygen, and so it creates like a flame effect at the end. So it's a very show-off thing. Like there's nothing wrong happening with the engine. Rather, it's just shutting down and getting that methane to burn off.
So what you're saying is it's like an afterburner?
No, not really.
Well, an afterburner injects fuel after the burn. So if it's leaking fuel after the burn, then it's burning after. So it's an afterburner.
No, they're just ejecting all of the remaining methane away.
Okay.
Like the engine purges out the methane and it still gets burned with atmospheric oxygen. That doesn't happen when it's in space because it's in space. There's no oxygen there.
I did just
Many
see
other
someone
rockets
walk
do as
past.
well.
I did just see someone walk past our camera with a hard hat on, so I'm going to assume that they're a SpaceXer, and I feel very bad for them because I would not want to walk to work to the launch site in Texas weather, in July Texas weather. Yeah,
You can
before
go
it
on
was
a
just.
scooter or something like that.
I understand a scooter. A scooter that's realistic, but walking, what's that? Like 2 miles? That's
that's
a long
quite a lot
way.
under the sun. What temperature is there right now? Yeah, let me take a look.
Oh, there we
Oh.
go.
Is that another deluge? Oh, there we go. Yeah,
It's much cooler now.
caught me by surprise. Still no retraction. More rainbow.
And complete.
That was about 9 minutes or so. Huh. Yeah, 30 degrees Celsius right now.
Yeah, no thanks.
By the record, that's the temperature right now here in Seville, but it's 1 a.m. Not 6 p.m.
Everybody getting a nice view of that testing. In the books. I wonder how many more of these we're going to see as we lead up to Flight 13, because they were doing many tests before Flight 12, and it was still an issue during testing on Flight 12. So fingers crossed they're usually we ask where you're watching from, but I'm going to ask what temperature
What's
it
the
is,
temperature?
because that's far more interesting, a far more interesting topic to discuss.
Maybe clearing the
Okay.
road now, or what?
Apparently the audio was lost again, so maybe not. Anyways, it's just gone past 6 o'clock in the evening. I think we're at the point where we're now discussing temperatures, so it's probably time to wrap up the stream. Ryan Webber, thank you for joining us for another round of Starship testing at Starbase.
Pleasure as always. 40 static fired, should roll back tomorrow, and then the next big item on the list for Flight 13 is get Booster 20 out there and static fire it. So.
October Sky in chat is asking Celsius or Fahrenheit. Well, only one of those is a real unit, so of course it's going to be Celsius. Alex, thank you for joining us on stream as well.
Yeah, sure. It's always nice to be here, and you probably hear me again later today because we got more launches today. Well, more, as in launches in general, because we haven't had any launch yet today.
Thank you to Jay, who has been producing the stream at a moment's notice, getting the stream up and running. So thank you, Jay. Thank you, of course, to the Starbase Live team, as always, for moving cameras when we need cameras being moved. Am I forgetting anyone? I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. Thank you to everyone. There you go. Problem solved. Everyone on Earth. Now I've mentioned everyone. Job done. I've been Ryan Caton. Thank you for tuning in. I won't be back because I'll be asleep because it's very late at night for me. But we will be back with another stream in a few hours' time. I believe Alex will be on that stream. But in 5 hours, 15 minutes, and 42 seconds from now, the last ever satellite launch, Atlas, is scheduled to launch from ULA, which is going to be very sad. But they're moving on. Don't worry, guys. They're moving on to bigger and better things. They're moving on to Vulcan, which, as we all know, is operational and working perfectly fine. So we'll have that stream later on tonight. But until then, tease, please, Alex.
We might go live a little bit earlier for that launch. There's things. We'll see.
Yeah. If you want to know when we actually go live, do follow us on the socials. As you can see, we're everywhere. NASASpaceflight, you'll be able to find us. Okay, I think that's actually it now. I've been Ryan Caton. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Following up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, Gino.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, that sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my god.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.